Breakfast with Bob.
Welcome to Breakfast with Bob. My name is Bob Babbitt. We're brought to you by the Pro Triathletes Organization, that's PTO, by Amp Human, by VeloFix, Normatech, Form Goggles, You Can, and by our Challenged Athletes Foundation. And just in March, we sent out 3,921 grants, totaling $5.9 million to keep challenged athletes in the game of life through sport. Our next guest, one of the CAF grantees for many, many years, Haven Shepard. Haven, how you doing?
Hi, I'm doing great. Life is kind of getting back to normal, so everything's all good here.
Good for you. Now, Haven, we're going to go through your whole life story. And you're born in 2003.
Yes.
And 14, your birth parents were having an affair, and you were the byproduct.
Yes.
And then that was pretty taboo in Vietnam, and they decided to kill themselves and wrap bomb around themselves, held you, they died, and you lost both legs below the knee.
Yes.
And obviously you don't remember any of that. What are some of your first memories?
Well, my first memories, let's give a little background. I'm the seventh child, so I grew up in my sibling spotlight. So there's 2 boys and there's 4 girls, and they were all athletes. So when I was probably 4, my parents had 14 sports schedules because my dad did traveling ball with my brother.
Yeah.
And then my oldest brother was in college playing D2 basketball. So, and all my sisters did track and volleyball. So that was kind of my life. So my earliest memories were probably in the high school gym, I owned that court. I was always in the student section, trying to just chewing bubble gum. Like that was my life, just living at my siblings' sports events. So those were my first memories.
But to get there, basically your mom and dad saw your story about you losing your legs in Vietnam. And I remember seeing video of them getting on a plane and being on a bus and being on a moped and basically going out in the middle of nowhere, and them being handed this beautiful little girl, you, and them bringing you back to Missouri to, like you said, 6 brothers and sisters, this instant family that you look a little bit different, but you guys were all, it seems like you all have that Shepard mentality. Did you feel different growing up?
Yeah, I always knew I was really different. My parents never really shied away from that. Like they never treated me any different, but they raised me with different values than my siblings. Like, yes, you don't have legs, but you're going to work twice as hard to be just like them. So that was kind of the whole Shepard mentality. Like you have to, try harder, go faster, be better than you were the day before. Cause like going into this instant family where I, was different. I didn't have legs, but my mom was really afraid that everybody was going to baby me.
Right.
Like, I was like, oh, she doesn't have legs, she can't do that. But all my siblings were, no, you go get on the jet ski, you get on that kneeboard. Like, I was really pushed from a young age. So that was kind of like, that was how I was raised. But, they just really thought I wasn't going to do anything for a long time, up until like I was probably 6 or 7. And then that's when I met you guys, and you guys gave me my running legs. And then, sports was really opened up from that point.
And I remember when you first got your running legs, I remember your mom telling us you're out at the track and you didn't like the look of these running legs because they were sort of geeky looking. So you wanted to run in your regular legs. And I think
because I could wear shoes. I liked shoes. That was like the biggest point. I was like, why can I not wear shoes? Like, I like shoes. Like.
And then you went face down wearing your regular legs. And then I was like, okay, maybe these geeky looking legs, these running legs aren't that bad.
Yes, and I kind of learned from that point on that I really didn't like to lose. So I was like, okay, what's the next step for me to win next time? Yes. So that's where that came from. So yeah, that was my first grade track meet. And I fell flat on my face, and I was like, Mom, I can do this in my regular legs. Just don't worry about it. Like, as a 7-year-old, I'm like, just don't worry about me. I got it. Very independent. but then I realized I actually needed help in like different legs because I don't like change. So I was like, Mom, I like these legs, don't give me new legs. Like like I always fought if I had to get new legs, like, no, Mom, these legs are okay. But yeah, after that day I was like, my mind opened up to the possibility of getting running legs.
So you early on you were running you were doing track and field and things like that. When did swimming come into your life, and when did you realize you were actually pretty darn good at that?
We always had a pool in our backyard, and going on vacation all the time, just I was always surrounded by the water, so I always knew how to swim from a very young age. My dad always said he said his greatest fear in his life was me not knowing how to swim. So I learned how to swim very early, probably at like 3 or 2 maybe. And so I've always known how to swim, and I was actually really good at it. But, I saw everybody that was older than me that did track. I was like, oh, I want to do track. Like, I want to be like Rudy or Roderick. Like, I wanted to be just like them. And then I didn't realize they were also swimmers. So, yeah, I got introduced to swimming when I really realized I didn't like track. I realized I didn't like when the sweat ran down my face, and I got hot. I started breathing heavy. So my mom was like, okay, we need to change. So she put me in a swimming clinic, and then I probably trained for like 3 months with my uncle, who was a college, a collegiate swimmer, and he trained me for a couple months, and then I went to the OTC, the Olympic Training Center in Colorado Springs, and that was my first swim meet ever. And I got recognized by she got a bump down now, but she noticed me, and she was the head of the OTC for swimming, and she said, okay, you're actually really good. You need to be on a USA Swim Club. And club swimmers, if you don't know, swim all year round through fall, winter. So after that, I started swimming all year round, and then I started swimming at SDTC at the triathlon, and I did the swimming leg, and I'm on Team Coastline, so I did the relay, so I wouldn't have to run anymore.
And that was a mile swim.
Yes.
Open water.
If you don't know, I was 12. Yeah, if you don't know, that's a mile for a 12-year-old.
That's a long way.
Yes.
So how long did it take you to figure out what your best event was? And breaststroke is your best event, right?
Yes, breaststroke is my best event in individual medley.
Right.
I thought I was going to be a really good distance swimmer, but then I really realized that, how I practiced, I didn't practice like a distance swimmer, so we kind of looked more at the sprinting side. So now I'm a middle distance sprinter, if that's kind of like the term for it. But after that, I kind of realized that I wasn't really that great at sprinting freestyle. And then I saw my world rankings, and I was like, whoa, Mom, I'm like 15th and like this when I was 13, I said, Mom, I'm 15th in the world for my 100 breaststroke. Why don't I become a breaststroker? And she was like, yeah. So I worked up to get into top 10 when I was 15, and then now I am 8th in the world now at 17.
Wow. So. I remember seeing you at the Paralympic Trials in Charlotte in 2016, and I'm like, I can't believe Haven's here already at the trials, and seeing you there, and seeing Cody McCaslin and all these little kids who, when we first started San Diego Triathlon Challenge, I think our only kids were Rudy and Roderick. And then all of a sudden it was all you guys, and all you guys were at the Paralympic Trials. What did you learn just from that experience of being at the Paralympic Trials?
I obviously knew I wasn't going to go. I wasn't in the top rankings like I am now. So what I really learned about that was really how focused I needed to be, because I was 12. I was 12 at trials for Rio. I was 12 years old. Do you know how young a 12-year-old is?
That's why I was stunned to see you there. I'm like, what is Haven doing? She's here to watch the trials, and I saw you walk onto the deck to swim. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, so there was a lot of pressure built around me going. There's a lot of talk about me going, and I was like, guys, I'm in sixth grade. Like, I can't go to Rio by myself. So that was a big learning experience to know, like, I didn't really know how young I was at trials, and then now looking back, how I realized how young I was. But you know, I learned from that experience really how hard I had to work to get to where I am now. You know, like
Right.
at that point, everything didn't come easy. You know, like when I was 12, I was dropping time like that at trials, but then now I'm in that top seat. Now I'm in that top seat, and I have to really focus on my race and like where my fingers go, how like just every little thing, how my turn is, and how much water I need to pull back. So now it's all about really the little stuff.
All the little stuff. When a typical training week for you, it's obviously more than just swimming, right? You're in the weight room as well.
Yes, I actually got done at the weight room like 2 hours ago. But yeah, my normal routine was, so I did triples only on Mondays and Fridays. So on Mondays, I went to practice at 5 a.m. swim practice. And then I got done at 7:30 because that's when school started. And then at 9:30, I went to weights. And then I went back to practice at 5. And then I kind of, I did that 2 days a week. And then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I called those my days off because I only had to do swim practice at night. And then on Wednesdays, I do a morning and weights. And I did morning practice and then weights later in the afternoon. And then on Wednesday, I only had one practice. And then on Saturday, I had morning practice. But morning practice was just kind of like a hangout type of thing. Like,
so when you're in the pool, how much, like when you're doing your doubles, how much mileage are you swimming a day?
Mornings, I usually swam about 4K, 4,000 yards. And then at night, I hit about 6.
So you're doing 10,000 yards a day.
Yes, I'm doing 10,000 yards at one practice.
I love that.
Oh,
wow. That is amazing. That is a ton of swimming. So what did you gain from, Rudy won a gold medal and went 232 for 200 IM when he was 16. And you've seen so many of the CAF athletes go on to the Paralympics, scout in track and field. How has that motivated you or inspired you to know that, hey, wait a second, people have already done this. It can be done.
Yeah. You know, you guys showed those videos of Rudy when he was like my age when I first came to CAF. And, you know, like we're all good friends now. And it's just crazy to see like, yeah, Rudy was so young and nobody thought he could ever just walk in general. So seeing him just build up to games and even his Ironman, that was just really inspiring to see like, oh, I can do this too. And, you know, we were in the same class at the time. And then, you know, just really seeing his hard work. And he really told me like, hey, if you really want this, you really got to like go. Like, you got to put your head down. Sometimes you're not going to be able to breathe, but you just got to put your head down and go throughout those hard practices, because that's going to build you up to trials. And that's really what I hung on to.
So last August, 2019, Lima, Peru.
Yes.
You had a pretty good meet.
Yes, I did.
Yes, you did. Talk about what happened down there.
Yeah, I went to Lima, Peru, in September or August, and I was expected to make the team, but I was hoping to make Worlds, but I got picked for Lima, which is also really great. But
yeah, it's pair of pants.
I think pair of pants, yeah. But it was just so amazing just to be there. And, you know, I really knew what I needed to go do. Like, you know, some people were there kind of distracted, kind of didn't know what they needed to do. But then it's kind of crazy how I'm older now and I know what exactly needs to be done. Like I got off that plane and I knew what I need to do. Like, so that's really what happened in Lima, but I wasn't really expected to win medals actually, in Lima. But then I swam my 100 breaststroke and I touched the wall and I look up and then it says second and I'm like, oh wow,
I got a silver.
I got silver. And then I come back on deck where Team USA is, and I had all my stuff with me. I was like, well, I really wasn't expecting that. And then I go on to win 2 more medals, so that's really great. But I had so much fun in Lima. I had you guys, CAF, supporting me throughout that whole 2 weeks I was there. So which was very comforting to know that I had support back home.
Sure. So now with the Paralympics being moved back a year,
Mm-hmm.
2021 rather than 2020, how does that change your approach to getting to Tokyo?
Yeah, nothing's really going to change right now. It's all about moving forward and what's the next steps. But actually let's not look at this next year as like, oh, I'm being set back. More like, okay, how do I get stronger? I have one more year to get stronger.
Yeah.
How to get better. But yeah, right now I'm really just kind of on lockdown. Like I have to use this thing when I swim, and it tracks all my yards and how many calories I burn. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is so hard. I forgot how hard this is, but this is the life I chose, and I really couldn't change it for anything else, because I really love, trying to see how well I can improve in myself,
Mm-hmm.
not just being a Paralympic athlete, but just an athlete.
And besides being an athlete, you've also done some modeling, right? You've been doing a little modeling and taking what the athlete side, and obviously leaning towards business as you're getting older. What are you, 17 now? Yeah.
I just turned 17.
Just turned 17. Talk a little bit about that balance of moving into modeling and also trying to do that around your swimming and going to school and all the rest of that.
Yeah. It's a lot to juggle, but I really haven't lived a normal teenage life. I have to look at like my career side, and
Mm-hmm.
modeling and swimming are in that category, but also like schools in this other category. So I try to balance it as best as I can. Like when I was in New York City for the Tommy Hilfiger shoot that they did for the adaptive line, which was amazing. And like I had to like just work around my swim schedule. Like I had to go up to the gym. I had to like work up a sweat. I was going on the rower, like all this stuff. So I had to really balance, being, there for business, but also needing to keep up with my training. So that's a kind of a hard balance, but I really want to trade it for anything else. It's actually, it's a lot of fun, the challenge to have with actually working and my other work, swimming.
So relationship-wise, what I've noticed at the San Diego Triathlon Challenge every year, there's yourself, there's Breezy, there's so many of you kids who might have met at San Diego Triathlon Challenge
Mm-hmm.
and have become besties, right? These are
Yes.
people who are sharing the fact that you're an amputee, they're in a wheelchair, whatever it happens to be. You're teenage girls who all get along with each other. How tight is that community?
Oh man, it's just so different. Like I have friends here at home, but
right.
When I see them probably like once a year, I just feel like nothing, like we just picked up right where we left off. And we have our group chat. It's called 9 People, 9 Feet.
9 people, 9 feet?
Yeah, but there's like 10 of us in that, like there's 9 of us in that group, but none of us have like enough legs to share. So we actually had a group FaceTime meeting a couple weeks ago, and we were just talking like nothing ever changed. Like we're still with each other at San Diego, but that's just such a different bond, because we've all gone through things that normal kids don't go through. Like Breezy's gone through cancer, and Kelly can relate to that because they went through the same thing. And then they relate to me not having both my legs because they just understand the struggle. So it's just a different bond with those friends. And, like I really had to thank CAF for all of them, because, that's where I met them. And probably I always told Breezy, you're always going to be invited to my wedding. she was like, no matter how far we go from each other, I was like, you are always going to be at my wedding.
Now, she's training for Ironman now.
Yes. And I can't be more proud of her. I'm just so glad that she's, taking that step, and I'm just so proud of her.
So the other side of this, besides the friends you make through the foundation, and when you come to SDTC and you see that next Haven, that the 6, 7, 8-year-old who's missing 1 leg or 2 legs, how important is it? Because you're obviously an athlete and a model, but you're also a role model because of what you've gone through. How much do you embrace that part of Haven Shepard?
Yeah, and especially being at SCTC, you know, those kids come from just normal lives, like going to school with able-bodied kids, and then they come to like SCTC or a running clinic and they see kids just like them. And it's just this whole new world that they get to experience where they don't feel alone. I felt like for a long time, for like when I was in school, like not that nobody understood what I was going through, but I just didn't have anybody understand what it was like. And so for
Yeah.
those younger kids to see, you know, kids their age and like me or Breezy or Kelly and see like, oh, look, they grew up and like they have these really awesome friends too. Like I want to be just like them. And, you know, and just showing the more positive side of being an amputee. You know, it's not all about, you know, oh, I don't have legs and oh, I like, oh, my toe doesn't hurt or whatever, but it's about seeing the positives of, you know, look, I get to have this friend who is missing, maybe missing a leg just like me, or gone through this traumatic experience with me. So those kids seeing us, you know, just hanging out or
Hmm.
at the picnic or whatever, just is really great. And seeing them at the beach at the surf clinic, oh, this year was so great to see them at the surf clinic. I just saw how happy all they were, and that was just great to see.
When you go out, I remember Blake Leeper telling me this years ago that every time he walks outside, he knows that people are going to be staring at him. You know,
Mhm,
people are going to stare at him. They might not say anything,
mhm,
and you've got to be pretty comfortable in your own skin to be able to
mhm.
handle that.
Yeah.
Is that something that you embrace? Is that something that bothers you when you walk? Because you know the spotlight's going to be on you wherever you are.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of like now that I'm 17 and, you know, I've lived a long time without legs,
Yeah,
um, I just don't really notice it anymore because it's just an like, everyday thing. Like you wake up every morning, you put on glasses because you need to
right.
see. Like I need to put on my legs because I need to walk. But, you know, like I'm not gonna lie, I really love the spotlight. I really like being the center of attention like all the time. But you know, I get to choose how I think people are staring at me. Like they can either stare at me because they think, you know, my legs are weird or like they don't understand it, or I wait, I
Yes.
always think I think they're staring at me because they think my legs are really cool. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, I'm cool. And, you know, just walking through Target, people will just stare at me. And I like to do this thing where, you know, if I'm pushing the cart and I'm with my friends, usually people don't do really good not staring at my legs when I'm walking this way and they're passing me. But as soon as they pass me, they turn around and look. So I do this new thing where I let them pass and then I turn around like this. And I just stare at them flat in their eyes. And
Do they ever say anything?
no, it just gets very uncomfortable. And I just think, man, that was a good joke. And my friends love it. My friends love it when I do
So,
that.
what would it mean to you to make the Paralympic team?
It would mean the world. That's just a great honor to represent Team USA at the biggest sporting event in the world. Let's admit that. And it's just an honor to represent your country. But biggest goal is just to trying to do my best. You know, I'm not going to go in with any expectations because can really that can really ruin my race strategy, whatever. But I just want to go into games if I make it, if I don't, just making sure I do my best and having fun.
So, what are your best times now? What are your PRs?
Oh man, it's been a while. I think my 200 IM is probably like a 3:10 maybe,
Yeah.
3:11 maybe. But I can't. I think it's for me. It doesn't help me to look at my times because like if I finish, I finish. You know.
Right.
But my thing about racing is that I need to know that like if my hands were in the right place. Like I need to have this perfect race for me to have this perfect time. So I see more the race side, not the time side.
Gotcha. Hey, Haven, thanks so much for being such a
Thank
great
you.
role model for our CAF athletes. You are watching you grow up. And actually, it's funny. I was just thinking about when we were at the Endurance Awards, our Competitor Magazine Endurance Awards. Wow,
Yes.
I forget how old you were, maybe 9, something like
Yes.
that. And I remember you taking the trophy and sleeping with it that night. That was pretty
Yes.
cool.
Yeah, I just thought that was the best little box I ever got. I still have it to this day.
I love it. Haven, thanks so much for taking so much
Thank
time. I
you.
love your story. I love you have a gift. You definitely have that star quality. You're going to be doing some great stuff.
Thank you. Thank
Haven
you, Bob.
Shepard has been our guest. We're brought to you by the Pro Triathletes Organization, by Amp Human, VeloFix, Normatec, Form Goggles, You Can, and by our Challenged Athletes Foundation. Thank you, Haven.